Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be, and welcome to today's webinar. We are happy to host you here at Magic Software for an experience that we hope will be very productive and useful for those of you who have gathered. Today's topic, of course, is Introduction to Salesforce Speedstart, and we are happy to have joining us today Ted Brennan, a Senior Solutions Engineer from Magic Software Enterprises Americas. Welcome, Ted.
Thank you, Glenn. Glad to be here.
Thanks. And, of course, I am your host, Glenn Johnson, Senior Vice President here at Magic Software Enterprises Americas. We'll have an introductory presentation, and then Ted will be actually showing us some live behind-the-scenes capabilities of the Magic XPI integration platform. So we really appreciate those who have joined us and are looking forward to your questions. Your questions can be entered at any time. We are going to take them at the end, if that's all right. But if you would enter your questions into the chat box and send them from that chat box to the organizers and panelists, then Ted and I will be able to see those at the end, and I'll read those questions, and we can get you the answers that you need. So with that little bit of housekeeping, let's begin today's topic. We want to, in talking about the Salesforce Speedstart, which is, of course, an integration solution for users of Salesforce and targeted ERP systems such as SAP in this case, then we really want to talk about, overall those reasons for integration. Things that are driving integration today include external trends, increasing use of mobile applications and cloud deployment, innovation within our organizations, customer experience demands and needs, the move towards global 24/7 and self-service enterprises, new capabilities for the Internet of Things and social tracking information and interactions all drive demands for integration, as do internal business requirements and changes such as mergers and diversification and divestitures, just business growth and expansion. And of course the addition of new products and product lines. And then there's the old classic standby reasons for change in any organization, changing priorities and new directions. So these business needs tend to drive integration. And in addition, there's a need for integration just quite simply from an IT standpoint because the systems are different. They don't automatically work together. We have a diversity of systems that drive integration. Enterprises today have all kinds of software applications, ERP systems for finance and manufacturing capabilities, CRM for customer relationship management, e-commerce, product lifecycle management systems, warehouse management systems, transportation management systems, HR systems, governance, risk and compliance applications, cash management solutions, business intelligence and analytics solutions, and on and on. There are literally thousands of applications available off the shelf, as well as those homegrown applications that your IT team may have developed. Sometimes those are labeled as legacy applications, but quite often they're more than just legacy. They're core business functions and processes that really are the unique defendable advantage that your company brings in terms of its IT capabilities. So all of these things create a need for integration. They create a need for things like the Salesforce Speedstart to SAP. Now, Gartner, analyst organization, widely known in the industry, says that these trends tend to make integration urgent, and we would suggest that this is true for a number of reasons, including the expectation in the marketplace today that businesses are increasingly interacting internally and externally through digital means. And as those digital services that are provided by companies increase, as the digital and social interaction with employees and customers continues to grow, the need for integration becomes urgent because silos of information are just not acceptable in these organizations. So quite often as we sit down with customers, we talk to them about what their specific integration requirements are. Not all of you have all of these systems in place. Some of you may have all of these and many more. And you may lack the integration infrastructure to efficiently deal with all the APIs that these various systems and changes and demands are placing on your organization. And so what we would encourage you to do is to set an appointment with us so that we can sit down and really go through with you a discovery session related to your specific needs and requirements. But there are many common CRM integration requirements to ERP, where you have customers' opportunities to sales orders, customer order history, product catalog information that commonly needs to be integrated. Product lifecycle management systems, quite often the item master, the bill of materials data, the work orders need to be integrated. With marketing automation systems, you sometimes need to have special integration with those as well that goes beyond what comes, off the shelf for leads, opportunities, customers, and all sorts of unique custom business processes that you may want to trigger with those marketing automation systems as well. So optimizing your CRM experience sometimes means that you need to provide your CRM users with real-time access to these other applications as opposed to just batch processes. In today's world, people increasingly expect information that is interacted and takes place with another system to be virtually immediately available in the system that they use. And so they have very high expectations that customer data and order and shipment details and inventory information and so on is very fresh and current. And all of these improvements to CRM are typically designed for one reason, which is to improve customer experience, or CX, as it's often called. So as we look at the Magic XPI integration platform in today's webinar, we'll see that it's designed to help you do that with your CRM system integrations, and especially as we're talking in context of the Speedstart to SAP. Now, integrations using Magic XPI are based on pre-built application certified connectors. We have these to many leading ERP and CRM solutions. There's a Salesforce adapter, there's an SAP adapter, which is certified by SAP, and we supplement that with a large number of generic, non-application specific certified connectors, and these allow you to work with the plethora of API integration technologies that are in use today so that you can accomplish more easily and maintain more easily your integrations. These run the gamut, including things like web services based on REST or SOAP approaches, database connectors, messaging queues, communication protocols from TCP to FTP to HTTP and so on. So there's just all sorts of these API approaches that are used in the market today and that are supported through our generic non-application specific connectors. So Magic XPI integration platform utilizes this universe of connectors and adapters in its very highly available, elastically scalable environment to deliver high performance integration through an in-memory data grid. This power and capability is unmatched in the industry based on the in-memory capabilities that ensure that there is redundancy and parallelism for both speed and reliability. So what do you actually get in terms of the software? What's included in Magic XPI is a studio environment for designing business process integration flows. So you have not only the app components and technology components that we talked about, but a flow designer environment. We'll take a look at that and see how that works. Checker and debugger capabilities in the studio so that you can build and test these business process flows to see how the information is going to flow through the organization, how you're going to orchestrate and trigger business processes, including both real-time and long-running business processes. Now, the server environment, of course, has the in-memory capabilities. It's also cross-platform so that you're able to work in Windows, Linux, IBM and Unix environments. And you can see what's happening on that server through the monitor environment so that you can log all of the activities. You can monitor the usage of the in-memory data grid and the success of various flows and so on. So there's lots of good information available through that business activity monitoring capability of the integration platform. So the studio has a code-free drag-and-drop approach, including not only the integration flow designer, but also a visual data mapper that simplifies data transformation and movement. The Studio is based on Visual Studio, so it's a very familiar look and feel and interface for any developers or business analysts that are using the system, and with all of the capabilities for supporting multiple documents and very sophisticated business flow logic. So as you look at this environment, there are nice visual layout, as I said, very Visual Studio friendly because it's using the Visual Studio shell. So if you've got developers who are familiar with this environment, they're going to be instantly sitting down and going, oh, okay, what's this, what's that? Ah, nice. And that's part of that Studio environment for the flow design, but then also the data mapping where your sources and destinations are mapped out for you. Ted's going to show this to us in more detail. And then the server that once you design your flows, you run them on the server. These are very robust environments. As we suggested, this in-memory data grid makes for a self-healing environment, use of active-active clustering out of the box, and you get the advantages that we discussed. In addition, the server environment is highly secure using all of the latest security technologies, encryption and secure communications and transfer protocols, user rights, authentication, and so forth. So we're very proud of the strength of the integration server that executes the integration flows that you've designed, and very nicely you're able to see what's happening in that server environment through the use of the web-based monitor, which has the capability for remote monitoring, performance monitoring, alerts, statistics. You can invoke scheduled business processes, see the usage of the license, and so forth. And so it's very visual. You can not only see your project list of all the different integration projects that you're running, but how those projects are loading on the system, whether or not you're using licenses in an efficient manner, and then really see the project triggers that are being executed and so on. Now you're, in addition to that, able to get nice dashboard views that show you you're running projects, your health indicators, your loaded licenses, the messages per project, current license usage, and so forth. And then, as we said, of course, your log information as well. So you can use Magic XPI to integrate your back-end ERP systems to your CRM systems, your product catalogs, e-commerce platforms so that salespeople know what's going on in the e-commerce world, point-of-sale systems, so that salespeople can be aware of what's happened from a POS standpoint with customers, your inventory systems, logistics tracking so that you can answer the question, where's my stuff? And then, of course, automating the opportunity to order conversions and many more crucial processes. You can also utilize this integration platform to custom design and optimize your interaction with marketing automation systems, as we suggested earlier, and to improve your customer experiences with real-time information access in Salesforce, SAP, and other systems, such as new product data feeds from your product lifecycle management system, your order and shipment visibility, your point of sale, e-tail, and e-commerce histories, asset management, field service app integration, and on and on. All of this visibility and interaction across multiple applications is going to improve business processes and customer experience. Now, it's important for us to note before we go too far that Magic XPI integration platform, in addition to being the Switzerland of integration and being able to integrate everything that's out there, is also closely paired with our Magic XPA application server that gives you the ability to build mobile, web, and desktop applications. Why is this important? Many organizations that are doing integration find that they also have a need for a new mobile app, for example. And the ability to roll out a mobile app with a quick design tool that can deploy to iOS and Android and Windows 10 is very important. We just today announced the release of the Magic XPA 3.2 application platform, and we're very excited about that. So it also uses powerful in-memory data grid messaging middleware, as does the Magic XPI integration platform, and all of these work together to provide you with a holistic development and integration solution. Now, many customers are using Magic XPI for Salesforce integration. Toto USA is an example of an over $3 billion company in the plumbing products manufacturing sector that integrates Salesforce.com and systems like UPS WorldShip and many others in order to automate business processes, to improve delivery times to their customers, to be able to actually have push back their order cutoff. One of the things that by implementing Magic XPI, at Toto, they pushed back their order cutoff by an hour so that they could continue to accept orders later in the day and deliver them on time to their customers. That is very important, that integration can automate these business processes so that these things can happen. Another great example of a Salesforce.com and Force.com platform user is Westmore Industries division of Superior Industries. This organization has some 1,600 employees. They're industrial manufacturers. As you can see, they build things like liquid fuel containers and delivery systems, as well as related equipment like airport delivery systems and so forth, and really evolved from being a high volume, sophisticated weld operation organization into this very specialized industrial manufacturer in the area of these fuel delivery systems, from basically the source to the destination. And from a technology standpoint, they're running a field service management application called ServiceMax, which is built on the Salesforce Force.com platform. They also integrate with iPads and the ERP systems and so forth. So great examples of companies, mid-sized, large companies that are able to resolve their integration requirements in a very efficient way that enables them to implement customized business processes and at the same time easily manage integration moving forward as changes continue to come in from the various systems that are being integrated. Before I hand it over to Ted for the demonstration, I wanted to just say a word about Magic Software. We were founded in 1983, publicly traded on the NASDAQ Stock Exchange under the ticker symbol MGIC. We have great revenue results. I think it's now 1,300 employees worldwide, 24 global offices. We've got customers in well over 50 countries, some 3,500 global business partners, and literally millions of end users worldwide on mission-critical applications and integration processes. Now, analysts talk about Magic. The most recent one, Ovum on the Radar, suggests that the capabilities of Magic XPI and Magic XPA work very well for an organization. What we would like to do, and when we sit down and discover your requirements, then there's a point at which we can eventually get to discussing the benefits specifically for your organization, the ROI, if you will, looking at the various business benefits that are possible through integration in your organization by a wide variety of integration processes, not just those included in the SpeedStart, but really across the whole platform. So what we're going to do is we're going to hand things over to Ted for the demonstration now. We're just going to remind you that we would like to talk to you about your preferred approach, your preferred timing, the agreed upon next steps. And to do that, you can contact Angela Burton at 949-250-1718. She's at extension 259. Or send an email off to Angela at aburton@magicsoftware.com, and she'll set up the discussion time for you, get everything set with the right people based on the requirements that you expressed to her at that time, and we'll really go from there. But first, of course, you want to see what all this is about. What does it look like? And so Ted's going to kind of talk us through a few more of the technical issues, and then he's going to show us the demonstration. So Ted, I'm going to invite you into the conversation at this point, and then just let me know as you need to advance these slides. I'll click away for you.
Okay, so hello everyone and welcome. What is SpeedStart? So XPI, we do not like to think of as a template-based solution at all. Our connectors do schema discovery. We gear our product towards your business process, not the other way around. However, some of our customers had expressed some particular challenges in integrating with SAP with other applications. So our German team developed an XPI project. We have one for Salesforce to XPI that, Salesforce to SAP that integrates some basic common integration points between SAP and Salesforce. So some of the more common ones are, regardless of what your business process is and regardless of what you want to do, chances are you are going to want to integrate at the very least customers, contacts, and sales orders. And so this, what I'm going to show you, does exactly that. Can you go to the next slide there, Glenn? So this is a visual representation of the different integrations that the Salesforce Speedstart package comes with SAP. So as you can see, there's some of are one way, some of our, actually it looks like they're both, some are one way, some are dual direction, based on what we found to be the most common business practices, including, we have some interaction with Google and Twitter as well. Those are kind of neat. You can if you create a new customer in SAP, you can go do a tweet out to your Twitter followers for your company saying, "Hey, we just brought on such and such company," and we can schedule calendar, integrate with a Google Calendar and well. So it's got a lot of really neat functionality that again is based around some of the most common scenarios that we've seen when we've done integrations between SAP and Salesforce. Glenn, can you go to the next slide? Okay, so integrating with both Salesforce and SAP requires some basic changes and custom modules both in the SAP and to the Salesforce environment. But the good news is that our SpeedStart package comes with these already. So either your Salesforce or your SAP experts can implement these, or we can implement them for you. So in the case of BAPIs for SAP, we've actually got some custom BAPIs that we built for this kind of solution based on certain criteria, and you can see one before you, the _Z, can go ahead and we can implement those as well. And then those can be modified as well depending on your particular creative needs. And so for the slide he's on now, it comes with all the common APIs that are available within SAP and Salesforce. So in the case of Salesforce, they have some bulk creates and upserts and things like that we can do with Salesforce, and those come with those already in there. Glenn, can you go to the next slide? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and show you the XPI Development Studio, and I'm going to show you how we built this integration and how we can help you get some basic integrations with your SAP and your Salesforce environment. So Glenn, can you see my screen?
Beautiful.
All right, so Glenn can see it, everyone can see it. So for those of you who've never seen XPI before, this is the XPI Design Studio. If you're familiar with any kind of development, I'm sure you've seen Visual Studio before. If so, it should be a very comfortable, common environment for you. We now, the new 4.5 version opens in a Visual Studio shell. Only in the middle here, instead of where you would normally have lines of code, we have our different flows. And as you can see, it's very visual, it's drag and drop, and it's made up of these things called connectors. So these flows, just another mention about that, so these flows are simply put where we take information from one environment and pass it to another. And obviously it's scalable. So if you build a flow that creates some basic syncs between two applications, like for instance, if you takes an account that goes from SAP and it passes it, or a customer from SAP and it passes it as an account to Salesforce, because if you know Salesforce, you know a customer is called an account in Salesforce. But we can leverage that as well, and it's actually using some of the same integrations. So here, since we're doing sales orders as well, one of the things that are dependencies of sales orders is you have to have a customer. It has to be in the application first before you can create a sales order. Well, I'm actually calling that same flow creating sales orders. So going down the road, once you've built an integration with a certain integration point, you can leverage that as well, and you can continue to build upon that. So if you bring on other ERP systems, sometimes companies buy other companies out and they have a different ERP. You can use the same logic to create customers in Salesforce, but you can add some logic to the other ERP and pass that along as well. Or if you want to implement any commerce application, B2B, B2C, we have all the logic details that creates sales orders and customers in the application as well. So it's buildable and it's scalable. So all these things over here, these flows are made up of these things called connectors. And so the connectors not only give us connectivity to these applications, but they come with the appropriate integration protocols as well. So for Salesforce, we have a pre-built connector for Salesforce that leverages the web services that are available in Salesforce. In the case of SAP, ECC or the R3 world, that calls the BAPIs. So in that case, that's the supported method. But we work with whatever supported method is available for that application. Now, as you can see, there's two different kinds. We have what we call pre-built connectors, and I'm not going to go through the whole list here. And we have pre-built connectors for multiple instances of the SAP world, as well as Salesforce is what we're talking about today, and I'm not going to go through the whole list. Again, you can see all the different ones here, but if we have an opportunity to integrate with something that we don't have a pre-built connector for, well, we have some generic ones as well. So I have a generic HTTP connector that can be both a provider and a listener for web services. So I can create or accept REST and SOAP web services, and I can expose functionality from data coming into XPI out to the world. I have new for 4.5. I actually have an FTP connector, that's not new for 4.5, but the secure FTP functionality is. I have a new 4.5. I have a WCF client web services connector, so I can point to any WCF client web service and all the methods and properties that come with that web services. I will have will be exposed to me, and I can go ahead and use them. We can read from a flat file. We can pick up files from a directory scanner, so someone can just drop a file in a folder. We can go ahead and pick that up, and that can trigger a flow. But the idea behind XPI is that we can take any application and integrate with any other application in a code-free drag-and-drop utility. So let me talk a little bit about triggering for a minute. So triggering works in both ways depending on the strategy and/or the component we're talking about. So I can either do it, triggers either can be set up at polling intervals, or we can act as a listener. So if we're acting as if polling intervals, depending on the application, it will go ahead and poll at a certain interval, waiting for some new records. So if a new record's created, or updating an existing records are created from a source application, that can be my trigger. I can just ping every 20 seconds, or I can do, and by the way, that can be either batch or individually. So it just depends on what your particular business process requires. But I can also act as a listener. I can create a web service that acts as a listener as well. So when I go in here and I go to settings, I have some services that are set up as feeds from a Salesforce here. So if I go to my endpoints here, I can see I have a URL that's constructed, and I can actually create values that can be passed along to XPI that can actually act as a trigger in real time. So that's an advantage. So we can do real time, near real time, or batch triggers as your business process needs. So as you can see, there's a lot of different flows here, and this is actually the SpeedStart package we're talking about. And so there's a lot of different flows that you can see to the left that are part of this SpeedStart package. Obviously, I'm not going to go into every single one of them, but I'm just going to talk a little bit about this particular one that creates customers in or creates accounts in Salesforce from SAP. So when I go into this connector, all of these configuration all these connectors do what we call schema discovery. So if you have an integration point that you've built, and coming down the road, someone says, well, I need to add another index field, or I got to access a new data point, when I hit refresh XSD, I can go back and I can modify these and change these out on the fly, really. So if somebody adds another index field, if I go ahead and refresh XSD, it does a schema discovery back to the environment, says give me everything. So if you've got custom BAPIs, and I'm actually using a custom BAPI here, if you've got custom index fields, I'll be able to get all that on the fly. So here, and it's IDOC or RFC, just depends on what your particular business process requires. Here we're using these custom BAPIs for the integration. So I'm going ahead and return all of the fields that come with in the customer, and I'm passing it to an XML variable. And so we typically do that. That allows us to validate and transform the data before we pass that along. So if it's customers to accounts, there's really not much to validate or transform, but if we pass something as an XML, we may be able to build that out and add other dependencies and do other validations before we try to create a transaction in another application. So sometimes we have to, if it's a sales order, sometimes we may have to get shipping information. Sometimes we may have to do a query against the inventory to see if something's in inventory before we create a sales order. So we can do all those things, as necessary, and transform that. So here I have a flow to create new contact or customers, and I have a flow here that creates the new customer in creates a new account rather in Salesforce. So with Salesforce, we're using our pre-built Salesforce connector. So here, as you can see, I'm doing a change, and I'm creating a new account ID from here. So, and I'd like to see the way schema discovery works. If I click on this ellipsis here, I can get all the data elements that come with account. So I'm going to show you where we do most of our work. Here is where I have my data coming from. This is our DataMapper, where I have my data coming from SAP, and I'm passing it along to Salesforce. So here's where we, just pass the information from one index field to another. So if you look over here to my left, I have a number of different sources and targets that I can set up here. I have some pointers. I can call a different flow. New for 4.5, we have native support for JSON code. So a lot of new other web services out there have JSON code that we convert to XML before we can pass that along. So we can do that as well. I can load from a flat file. Here, I'm just taking the index fields that I wanted to capture from SAP rather, and I'm passing it on to Salesforce. So as you can see, some of the more common, and again, this is all out of the box for the SpeedStart package, and some of them are things like, billing street number, billing city. These are, some of the basic data syncs. So the SpeedStart package has some of the more common dependencies for, like I said, contacts, customers, and creating sales orders. And literally all you would need to do is implement this, plug it in, turn it on, and you'll start, if you run it, you will start getting new data back and forth, and you will get these individual index fields. But if you need to build on that, all you would need to do is right-click, connect. If you want some more information passed in this sync, we can go ahead and do it that way. But we can put some conditions on that, and as always, we have a variety of different functions we can apply to validate and transform that code before we pass it along. So we may have to concatenate a couple of different values. We may have to do a date-time format conversion. In any way, we can just go ahead and pass that along accordingly. And this whole thing is designed so that somebody, the business analyst, can use this. So as you can see, it's very user-friendly. It's drag and drop, and although we say it's a code-free utility, we provide you with a very powerful utility that allows you to apply coding principles in a drag and drop utility. So literally, a business analyst can do anything a coder can do without having to have the skill of a full-on developer. And of course, you can build on this accordingly. It's not just, you're not just limited to passing different index fields. You can go ahead and even create different flows, and even, you know, if you can create new indexes, and on either way, you could do a schema discovery and get the new indexes. So you can build on this, you know, to further provide value to your integration. Another important part of our solution I want to talk about is our monitoring utility. So we like to call this the good, the bad, and the ugly. This is a web-based utility that allows me to know what's going on with the various integration projects I have going on. So here's the Speedstart package I have running. Here are all the ones I have connected to the server. You know, I have a visual dashboard, and I don't have anything moving right now, that kind of shows me everything that's going on, processed, arrived, pending, things like that. I can monitor the different flows. These are the different flows I have, and I go to activity log, and this is where I spend most of my time, and I put some errors in here just to kind of show you how the difference between errors and just regular data going back and forth. And I can segregate this out by flow. I can pass application-specific error messages back and forth to this server. So if Salesforce or SAP is passing a specific error message, I can go ahead and pass that and capture it here. So somebody can, an administrator can take a look at it. And by the way, this is the only user interface that's comes with XPI. XPI to a user runs seamlessly in the background as a Windows service. They don't have to do anything special in SAP or Sugar, Salesforce rather. They don't have to install anything special on their workstations. You don't have to do anything special. They just do their job like they would normally do. So user acceptance really isn't a thing with Magic. Users just do their job the way they would normally do it. So here, I can even pass application-specific data. So if I can actually pass the XML document of the information I tried to pass back and forth. So this is an important troubleshooting tool. So we can actually see the data going back and forth between the actual applications. So, and the other thing I want to talk about is how we run in production. We utilize a technology called in-memory data grid, and what in-memory data grid does is it allows us to temporarily expand an internal server's RAM so we can pass a significant amount of data back and forth between these applications. So it really speeds up your integration time. And it comes with built-in active-active clustering. So typically, we deploy to 2 or more servers, and by the way, we have a very small digital footprint. It's just one server, 2 gigs of RAM or 4 cores or something, real simple like that. And we don't have a lot of different application servers or other servers you have to integrate with. We can run on and it runs as a Windows service in the background. But what we do is when we deploy, we'll deploy to 2 or more servers, and that has built-in active-active clustering. So if one server goes down, the other server can go ahead and take over. So as you can see, it's a very powerful solution that allows you to manage and orchestrate your integrations, as well as allow you to maintain and make changes to your integrations in a much faster way. So Glenn, that's about all I was prepared to show today. I think we're available for questions now. See some popping up.
Okay, great. Thank you, Ted. I appreciate that. Yes, please enter your questions, if you haven't already, into the chat box, and we'll take those questions and try to get you the answers to them. Yeah, it looks like the first one says, is this in the App Exchange? Yeah, the Salesforce App Exchange has Magic XPI available there. We've got a 5-star review, actually, on the Salesforce App Exchange. Very proud of that. So that is available. Next one, can you tell us more about the MQTT adapter?
Yes, the MQTT adapter is what allows us to integrate with what is now called the Internet of Things. So you've probably seen devices are getting a lot more intelligent right now. You have refrigerators that can tell you when you're out of milk. You have ways of integrating with devices, and recently there was a recent concern where there was a hacking was done where someone was able to get into a bunch of things, meaning like cameras and things like that, and gain access to them. You can do these things like we can turn them on and off. So that adapter allows us to integrate with different devices. So those would be the Internet of Things. So we can definitely do that as well.
It goes on, can I display a MQTT message on a Google map if I have a lookup table with my device IDs and GPS coordinates? Absolutely.
Yeah, and we would just need, so all those things you just mentioned, we have adapters for, and for the Google, we have a Google, I don't know if that would be the Google Calendar. We have an adapter for Google Calendar, but we have a DataMapper, which is a database connector, which allows me to talk to any database in its native language, and so we have the EMQTT adapter as well. So as long as we can see it, we can talk to it, and we can get the information and pass it along.
It says we run SAP on IBM I with NetWeaver 7.5. Is that an issue?
No, not at all. We have an IBM I connector. I don't know if do you mean an IBM I server or an AS400 as a backend. I'm not sure which one, but our DataMapper can talk to an AS400 database, but we also have an iSeries connector if you want to run iSeries programs. So it kind of just depends on what you want to do. But the generic question, is that a problem? It's definitely not a problem.
Okay. I don't see any other questions coming in. It looks like that does it for today's webinar. So thank you very much, Ted, for your great demonstration and presentation. I definitely appreciate that.
Thank you. My pleasure.
And thanks to all of you for joining us. We look forward to seeing you again soon on another Magic Software webinar. We have another one scheduled tomorrow, in fact, so please check the calendar and join us when the topics look right for your needs. Thanks again.
Thanks, everybody. Enjoy your day.